Hi guys. This is just your little preparation video for chapters 9 and 10. Again, same format, pretty straightforward. Your first question is going to combine chapters 9 and 10 vocab again because there wasn't very many in chapter 10. So the first question will be your matching, and then you've got some true or false again, about 6 from each chapter. And then you'll get into your short essay. Total, you have 21 questions, and then question 22 is an extra credit opportunity. Some of your essay questions will have multiple components, so just make sure you're addressing all of those. A large chunk of what you're going to be answering is about alcohol. It's one of the most in-depth chapters in the book, as well as something that obviously in the United States we have an issue with, and that most people are most familiar with, but don't always know all the intricacies of it. So when you get into your essay for alcohol, make sure that you know you're going to need to know how we figure out the content of alcohol in different beverages, like wine versus beer. You need to be able to discuss your own BAC, which you guys already did an assignment, so that should be easy to have in front of you. You're going to need to be able to discuss illegal limits versus what actual levels of alcohol might be beneficial health-wise, or what might be recommended versus, again, what could be uh, uh, illegal limits or dangerous limits. Let's see. What's that? You're going to have to discuss alcohol consumption in the United States versus other countries. I designated that you need to discuss at least 2 other countries. Okay, there is a box in your book that you can find in towards the end of the chapter that discusses Japan. But if you want to pick 2 completely other countries, that's fine. Just remember to go out and find that material before the test, and that'll save you some time. Again, remember, statistics are always the best thing you can do academically. So find statistics, examples, things like that for the US and for the other 2 countries. Okay, that's going to be important. Another thing you're going to have to kind of discuss in detail is the use of alcohol and overconsumption and binge drinking in the college age population. I picked that question obviously in particular because you guys are all college students. So it's important that you understand what's going on in the world around you, what you guys probably are experiencing a little bit of, but know too that different places you might see even much higher levels of what you're experiencing. Maybe some places lower levels of what you're experiencing. But it's important that we know that it's really become quite an epidemic, especially the binge drinking aspect, and especially in that young adult population. In your book, I want to say it focuses mostly on college, but the more that kids are trying to grow up earlier, you see a lot of this happening in high schools too. Even, I was teaching at a high school for 7 years, and kids would come in on Monday, and you're talking freshmen, sophomores, so 14, 15 years old, talking about how wasted they got, that they couldn't even remember what they did, things like that. So keep that in mind. Again, statistics, examples, always cite your outside sources. Let's see. You're going to have to talk about some physical aspects of what alcohol does to your body. Um, Things like what actual effect does it have on you? Physically, what does it do to you? You're going to have to discuss what it does to driving ability. So make sure you have some of that information. There's a whole section in your book, has all kinds of statistics and stuff. But again, you can find an outside source and cite it. You're also going to have to talk about the hangover. Can you cure a hangover? There's some information in a box on your book about that, but also kind of go out and look around and see what you can find in regards to, is it even possible to cure a hangover, and what's really going on in your body. Let's see. You're also going to have to talk about the relationship between alcohol and aggression. So you'll be able to find plenty of information on that. Like I said, there's a section in your book on it, but also you'll be able to find some statistics and stuff if you go out and get an outside source. You're going to have to discuss some of the syndromes they talk about. They talk about Wernicke-Korsakoff, and then they talk about fetal alcohol syndrome. Make sure you can discuss both of those in detail, what's going on with those, what happens, things like that. And I think that's pretty much it in the alcohol section. And then in the opioid section, like I said, you're not going to have quite as many questions because it's not as in-depth of a chapter, but you are going to have to talk about the relationship between opioids and the Taliban. There's a box in your book about that, and I want you guys to explore that a little bit further. Again, you can, like I said, read the section in your book. Sorry, but also you'll probably be able to find some outside sources on that as well. Okay, you're going to have to talk about the controversy, and it is a controversy, of naloxone, and discussing its use for saving people who are overdosing. Okay, so again, you'll be able to find tons of outside information on that. It's in one little box in your book, but it's really something a lot of people are talking about right now. So I would try to find an outside source for that just to kind of get some more information. And then the other big thing is just talking about the epidemic of opiates, and specifically prescription opiates, because it is a huge, huge issue in our country right now. One of the things that we forget, or that we don't really acknowledge, is when we think about people overdosing, we think about heroin or alcohol or something like that. And we do a lot of preaching about it, and we do a lot of teaching about it. But what a lot of people don't realize is right now, probably one of the biggest issues is the prescription drugs. And that's what most people are overdosing from. It's very rare for someone to actually just overdose from heroin. Most of the time when you see an overdose, it's going to be a mixture of something. And a lot of times, alcohol is involved in the mixing of whatever it is. But particularly right now, we are seeing a huge issue with prescription opioids, or use of opioids, and then again in combination with alcohol and having overdoses and things like that. So I just want you to kind of get into the meat and bones of that a little bit. Like I said, they discuss it in your book. You'll be able to find tons of outside sources on that as well. And like I said, just remember, for everything, cite your sources, cite them properly. Make sure I know why you picked that source. Don't just list a source. Tell me, what did you actually find in that source? And you guys are, like I said before, you guys are doing a great job. We're over halfway through. You guys are like on the downhill slope. So just keep trudging through, and keep up the hard work.